I want to talk to you about SDVOPS certification guide. Of course, we are speaking about business for military veterans. Okay, so this will be an in-depth guide about the requirements, about how to position yourself for success, and other tips and hacks. Okay, so how do you get SDVOPS certified? What are the requirements, the strategy, and the common pitfalls? First of all, when we talk about SDVOPS, we are speaking about service disabled veteran owned small business. Okay, so those are actually folks who have a military background and who have been honorably discharged and are looking to really like get into business. Okay, so this certification gives veteran owned businesses access to billions in set aside contracts, but the process is rarely straightforward. Okay, applications face significant rejection risks, and under the SBA's Veteran Small Business Certification, the VetCert program, processing typically takes anywhere from 2 months all the way to 4 months, so 60 to 120 days, okay, depending on the workload of the agency, but also the document request, because every case is different, okay? Now, success depends less on veteran status itself and more on whether your documents align to show ownership and control. And that makes sense because the government is setting aside billions of dollars in contracts. They want to make sure they are allocating those contracts to the right businesses. Okay, so if you think about the SDVOPS certification, you are thinking about a federal designation that gives qualifying veteran-owned businesses preferential, and that's the key word here, preferential access to contracting opportunities. And the SBA Vet Certs program handles verification, which assumed responsibility from the VA's CVE about 2 years ago. So nowadays, everything goes through the SBA Vet Cert. So, what are the eligibility requirements? So, to qualify for SDVOPS certification, a business must meet the following. So, at least 51% owned by one or more service disabled veterans. Ownership must be unconditional without restrictions on transfer or investor influence. Day to day control and long term decision making by the veteran owner. Disability must be service connected and verified by VA or DOD. Any rating percentage qualifies, but appeals on recent rating changes may delay processing, so be careful on that front. You must qualify as a small business under current SBA size standards. And the principal place of business is in this country, in the States, okay? Now, ownership complications to watch. Spousal ownership, so community property rules may complicate proof of veteran control. Trust and estates, so only irrevocable trust where the veteran has control typically qualify. Partnerships, so SBA scrutinizes how management authority is shared among partners. And you also have debt investors, so loan covenants or investor rights can undermine unconditional ownership. So, if you think about SDVOPS certification this year, what are the essential documents to actually have? Number one, you have the core documents, but you also have the accessory documents, okay? So, the core documents, you got to have DD 214. So, that's actually the discharge, those are the discharge papers showing veteran status. Again, we are speaking about honorable discharge. So, DD 214. So, VA disability rating letter must show service connected disability. You have articles of incorporation or organization. So, if you have an LLC, an S corporation, a C corporation, you got to show the official certification. So, your current operating agreement or bylaws, signed and dated, stock certificates or ownership ledger if applicable, business tax returns, at least 2 years preferred, but newer businesses can still qualify, right? So when I say your business tax returns, I'm talking about your 1065, your 1120s, your 1120, okay? And you got to be a business, okay? You can't be a sole proprietorship and qualify for SDVOPS. And personal tax returns for veteran owners. So here you have to show the 1040 for the veteran owners. Financial statements or bank statements showing activity. Business licenses and permits. professional liability insurance if applicable, right? Some fields do require professional liability insurance. Now, you also have control documentation. This could be critical for approval. So, management structure charts, board resolutions showing veteran decision-making authority, employment agreements or management contracts, and banking signature cards listing the veteran as a controlling signer. Okay. You also have documentation alignment challenges. So most denials are caused by inconsistencies between documents rather than ineligibility. So reviewers check SAM versus corporate docs, so business names, ownership percentages, and addresses that don't match exactly. Okay. You also have name variations, so even small differences, nicknames, missing middle initials can trigger rejections. Address conflicts, so business license address must align with tax returns and SAM. And timeline consistency, so articles, amendments, and operating agreements must reflect a logical sequence. So it's important to understand that if you want to get SDVOPS certification, you got to really pass the 2-year business history challenge, okay? Because the whole thing is that the SBA wants proof that your business is real and operational, not created solely to chase contracts. Because if you really create a business just to chase contracts and hope that the government is going to set aside veteran contracts for you, that's not going to happen. So 2 years of activity is a helpful benchmark, but quality matters more than quantity, right? It's not about I've been in business for 2 years, but if even if you haven't been doing anything in 2 years, that's not going to really help your case. So what really counts as business history? Let's quickly talk about that. There are a few things that counts. There are a few things that count as business history. Okay. So for example, you have your what I call your file tax returns, even if showing minimal income. So again, we're speaking about 1065, 1120S, or 1120, because those mark official recognition that you've been working, you've been operating the business. Bank statements with consistent business transactions, contracts or purchase orders. Again, the whole thing is that the government wants to see some interaction with other third parties, whether the IRS or suppliers or vendors. You want to show also licenses, permits, and insurance coverage. Those are proof that your business has been operating as normal. And you also got to have regular operating records, okay? And so you also have some SBA review factors. So the SBA sort of pay attention a lot to business purpose, the economic dependence, and also the industry norms. So when I say business purpose, the company must have a clear commercial mission beyond certification. Again, whether before you get the certification and after you get it, you got to be in business for real. That's the bottom line. You got to be in business for real, okay? So that's for the business purpose. So you got to be in business to make money, okay? And in terms of economic dependence, if the veteran owner works full-time elsewhere, the SBA may question control. And then you also have industry norms. So construction firms may need bonding evidence, while IT firms are actually judged on past performance. So now let me just walk you through in detail. I want to walk you through the SBA Vet Cert process, okay? And so the Vet Cert process includes active SAM registration with matching business details. So what they will do is they will look at what you have on your paperwork versus what you have in the SAM program, in the SAM database, okay? And they'll also look at your online application through SBA's portal, because the SBA's portal is totally different from what you have with SAM, okay? And those are two different portals. And but thing is that they're looking for consistency. They're looking for consistency for reliability and credibility, okay? You also have the Vet Cert process includes upload of required documents. This could include your bank statements This can include your tax returns. This can include your financial statements. This can include your articles of incorporation. This includes your operating bylaws and so on and so forth. And also, SBA has an in-depth review of ownership and control evidence. And also, you might have, so at the end of the vet cert process, you will have approval, denial, or appeal. Okay, so you always have an opportunity to actually reach out to the government and say, listen, I don't really agree with this decision, so please review again. Okay, so basically, you need to understand here is that there is a certain reality to remember when it comes to appeals. Appeals often take more than 6 months because the SBA is really busy, and the SDVOPS process is not the only one they actually oversee. Okay, so appeals often take more than half a year, and the burden of proof shifts. So the applicant must prove SBA wrong. So once the SBA thinks that you are not in compliance with their instructions or with their requirements, it's up to you to prove them wrong, not the other way around. Okay, and you cannot pursue SDVOPS set asides while an appeal is pending. You only get those set asides once the vet search process is done and is done to your satisfaction. Okay, and many appeals require legal or professional representation. So it's a long process. You got to be sure of your case before you actually engage with the SBA. So a lot of people involve lawyers, and that makes sense. The reason is that there is a lot of money to be made. I mean, not to be made in the sense that you have to make money, but there is actually an entire process in place that's important when it comes to the SD VOPS process. I want to explain a little further for you. So basically, you have contracting advantages, you have market positioning, and you have interaction with other certifications. So that's really the strategic value of SDVOPS status. Okay, you have a trifecta. So when I say contracting advantages, if you think about it, you have access to a SDVOPS set aside contracts. You have sole source awards up to $5 million for both manufacturing and services. So that's pretty good. That's really good. You have price evaluation preferences in some full and open competitions. You also have strong subcontracting demand from large primes. And that's important because those primes, those major contractors, they want to be associated with, and that's good for their public relations too, their reputation too, right? They want to be associated with SDVOPS certified companies or subcontractors. So this sort of demand from large primes is really good. And so that's for contracting advantages. You also have market positioning because SDVOPS status creates competitive protection that other businesses cannot replicate if you think about it. It provides access to agency vehicles reserved for SDVOPS. You have preferred teaming relationships with major contractors. And you also have a status that enhances credibility with contracting officers, and that's pretty good because if a contracting officer is going to review your application, and if he or she sees that you are SDVOPS certified, that really elevates your profile big time. And you also have interaction with other certifications because SDVOPS can be stacked with 8A, HopZone, or WOPS for broader opportunity access. Okay, and also agencies with overlapping goals may prioritize firms with multiple designations, and that's pretty good. You also have, so if for any reason you can't be certified for SDVOPS, you can think about state level certifications. Okay, those are strategic alternatives because at the end of the day, as long as you can qualify for contracts, whether federal or state, that's totally fine. Okay, so for newer businesses not yet ready for federal certification, state level programs can be a stepping stone if you think about it. The reason is that basically you have shorter history requirements. Usually, Instead of 2 years, they're asking you for a 6 to 12 months. So that's really good. So half a year to a full year, that's totally doable than if you had to be in business for at least 2 years. The SBA vet cert is asking you for 2 years at least, and the state level programs are even asking you like only half a year. You also have faster processing times. I mean, some states are like the backlog in some states is actually lighter. Okay, if you are in a small state like Rhode Island, for instance, you're not going to have the same processing time as if you were in California or New York. Okay, so the states, the demographics will dictate the competition, and you also have access to state and local set asides. So those are for state level programs. Now, of course, those programs do have some limitations because states often require residency, and the contract values are typically lower than federal opportunities, okay? And maintaining state and federal certification adds a compliance burden big time. And success in state contracting doesn't guarantee federal approval because the rules may be different, actually. Okay, so that's really important to really think about it. And one thing I want you to really understand here is that basically, at the end of the day, you have to really understand that some offices, some SBA offices are oversaturated, okay, while others are not. Like, I'll give you an example. Washington, D.C. and San Diego are oversaturated, while Huntsville, Colorado Springs, and San Antonio show high demand with lighter competition. So it's all about making sure that you're choosing your geography properly. If you want to be certified as an SDVOPS sort of company, you need to have a pre-application readiness checklist, okay? And this checklist, you have to really go through it and make sure that you really are in compliance with a lot of those items. So think about your SAM profile, and your SAM profile must match corporate records exactly. Exactly. I want to insist on that because the SBA is really, really strict when it comes to that. I would say that similarity. Okay, all governing documents are signed, current, and consistent. Tax filings and bank statements prove real business activity. So if you are filing your tax returns with the IRS, make sure that you have a real business activity. You have real business activity. The veteran owner's decision-making authority is clearly documented, right? The disability verification letter is current and accessible because the SBA wants to make sure that you are, number one, you got a discharge, an honorable discharge from the Army, from the military, and that your disability verification letter is valid. And the business purpose is documented beyond just certification pursuits, right? Don't just tell the SBA, like, if I get certification, I'm not going to really do anything. I'm just going to wait for contracts, okay? So you want to approach SDVOPS certification as part of a 3-year contracting strategy. Use the application period to build relationships, attend industry days, and develop capabilities, okay? Don't wait for approval to start building your pipeline because it is a lengthy process that's going to test you to certain limits, okay? So again, currently, applications take anywhere from 2 to 4 months, depending on the SBA backlog, okay? And so incomplete files can extend the reviews well beyond that 4 month period, actually. And so basically, you can appeal if you get denied, okay? But you cannot pursue set asides while waiting, okay? The burden of proof is higher at appeal, okay? And you can also pursue contracts while waiting on certification. The only thing is that you cannot actually you cannot really compete on those SDVOPs set aside, okay? Because those set asides only apply after certification approval, okay? That's really something to really keep in mind this year. So as an epilogue into this conversation, I spoke to you about SDVOPs certification guide, okay? I gave you all the information you need to know about the certification process, the eligibility requirements, the essential documents, okay, and also the vet cert process that the SBA has. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.